thank you, Professor Khatri. At the outset, I thank GEC Modasa to give me an opportunity to share my research on tribocorrosion behavior of biodiesel diesel blend and its potential as a supplement fuel for CI engine. Essentially, see, we are working on biodiesel since 2013, and we have taken up several MTech projects and 2 PhD scholars as well. So whatever I am presenting, it is the part of my PhD scholars work, and on their behalf, I am presenting whatever results we obtained through our research study since 2015. So as far as topic goes, here we will be talking about the biodiesel diesel blend as a potential as a supplementary fuel. And we know since decades, this biodiesel has been used in our diesel engine in different blend proportion. Most appropriate or rather the most used blend is B20. However, see, till now, whatever research is, most of the research is cited in the literature, it is with respect to single biodiesel diesel blend. Here we have targeted more than one biodiesel, that is especially 2 biodiesel taken in different proportion with the diesel, just to see we know basically diesel has a consistent physico-chemical property. But as far as this biodiesel is concerned, they have different physico-chemical property depending upon their seed. So in order to understand what if we go for more than 2 or rather 2 biodiesel along with the diesel in the engine, what are the change in the performance, combustion, or kind of say emission level, right? With respect to compare with either pure diesel or with respect to biodiesel diesel blend. So before we move into, let me first define the biodiesel. So as per ASTM standard D6751, the biodiesel is defined as the monoalkyl esters of long chain of fatty acid, and essentially either it is derived from vegetable oil or the animal fat. Now this biodiesel typically has to confirm all the standard which are mentioned in ASTM D6751 as far as its use in diesel engine is concerned. So just to share with you that biodiesel has several advantages and some concerns as well. But the biggest advantage as far as India is concerned, being India is agricultural country, if we go for more biodiesel, then it would contribute in GDP as well. And many countries of the world have made kind of biodiesel mixing in their petroleum fuels as a mandatory thing in some proportion, 5% to 20%, so that the burden on petroleum fuel will decrease. So biodiesel can be used as an alternative fuel, and which is in line with the context of this particular FDP in the existing CI engine fully or partially. So we can use 100% biofuel as well, and in the blend form as well with the diesel without any much modifications in the engine. So it will give the less dependency on the foreign crude oil import as well, and increase in the economic growth of the country. So unlike other petroleum fuel, biodiesel is being produced from the renewable sources. That is the biggest advantage. However, the calorific value of biodiesel we know is slightly lower, but it is in the range of the diesel. And there are several differences in the physical, chemical, and MEG properties because they are obtained from the different seeds. So biodiesel has some merit, like no sulfur content, as we know, as compared to diesel. It is non-toxic, it is biodegradable, and can act as the natural lubricant as well. And we know this biodiesel has slightly higher flash point and fire point as compared to diesel, which makes it a safe fuel. So you can transport it easily, you can store it easily. So it will not catch fire at a lower temperature, right? Being or rather having higher flash point temperature. Moreover, biodiesel reduces friction between the engine parts, because if we will see that the property of biodiesel, and they have slightly higher lubricity property, that makes them more efficient as far as the friction power or other friction loss is concerned. The production and adoption of the biodiesel as a substitute fuel for diesel engine essentially has 3 main benefits. One benefit is it can reduce the economic burden due to the petroleum products. Second, it can decrease the emission of the harmful gases responsible for the greenhouse effect. And third, it will make the life of the common people better by giving them the opportunity as far as the employment is concerned. So looking to these 3 particular advantage, they have taken up this particular study. And here's the main important or the targeted point, or rather I'll more discuss on how it reduces the emissions or the greenhouse gases. right? In that way, say this particular fuel is more important. As far as the Indian scenario is concerned, if I share with you, it is say in transport sector uh, is more responsible producing greenhouse gases, and almost 20% of total greenhouse gas in India is being produced by the transport sector. So if we use biodiesel right in the transport sector, this greenhouse gases will be reduced drastically because they are typically produces less gases in terms of NOx, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. So in terms of that, say we can save the environment and our greenhouse gas effect could be reduced if you go for mixing of this, or if you use more biodiesel in proportion, right? Mixing with the diesel engine, diesel fuel as well. And so in nutshell, say I can say that the biofuels are generally produced from the natural and safe sources like edible and non-edible oil, waste cooking oil, algae, etc. And therefore, biofuels are biologically better than the petroleum products. So this typically say here, I open with my the opening remark as why typically we should go for the biodiesel in place of diesel. There are several say other options as well. Now we know that EV is coming up, and by 2030, say most of the mechanical vehicle may be converted into electrical vehicle, and every country will set their timeline as well. But till then, say the intermediate solution is using this natural fuel, mixing with the diesel, which may improve, say slightly the combustion properties, or in turn say the emission level as well. So motivation is this study. As I discussed, we know the dual crisis of fossil fuel reduction and the environmental degradation is associated with our petroleum products. Dependency on petroleum product day by day, this cost of petrol, diesel, etc. is shooting up, which was available say in 40-50 rupees a liter say before 5-6 years. Now it has crossed almost 100 rupees, and this price will go up. So we know that all this fossil fuel now are not in plenty with us. There is a shortage, and this shortage will ultimately result into price rise. There is a global climate change. We know, say, our ppm carbon dioxide level has crossed for 420, 430, and at all level at the world, say we are discussing to reduce this carbon dioxide emission at about say 300 or even lesser level, and many countries are opting for almost a carbon neutral options as well. So in that context also, yes, this is the motivation for this study. Day by day, environmental emission norms are becoming stringent, right? We have moved from Euro 1 to Euro 5, Euro 6 also, and similarly, Bharat norms are also being revised at a regular interval. Biodiesel produced from renewable sources. So this is the bigger advantage. We use renewable sources. It is biodegradable. Pure biodiesel or their blends with diesel have shown many long-standing problem as well. And especially say the more important thing is it reduces NOx, CO, and HC substantially by means of the emulsion of the biodiesel, and engine component life by use of the alternate fuel will also move up. They have self-lubricating properties, and that will reduce the friction and wear. And we took some priority study in form of our MTech projects and PhD work. So that is the other motivation to carry out this particular study. As we look for the problem statement, again, say in line with what we discussed, say diesel and petrol are the most used fossil fuel and causing huge emissions. So we know, see this, as I say, 20% is the contribution of our transport fuel. The probable solution of this problem is to use alternative fuel, which are typically producing environmental harmful gases in a lesser quantity. Biodiesel are, or rather has many sources, but from these different sources, different biodiesels are obtained. And it is important to find out the best possible combination of mixing of the two biodiesel, which can be used as an alternative fuel in automobile. So here in entire talk, rather than mixing a single biodiesel with a diesel, I'll be highlighting the results with at least two biodiesels mixed with diesel, and what are the possible improvement in combustion in say emission level as well. So and I'll discuss also why we have selected two rather than one biodiesel. Next is the acidic content present in biodiesel and high corrosion rate of metal in long run in CI engines. Next is due to the high corrosion rate and acidic property, engine life reduces, and it affects the main part of the component of the engine. So this study would be helpful. And working and reaching on all these problem, it has been decided to work on the corrosion property of biodiesel, as if it will able to decrease the corrosion rate to find out the suitable biodiesel which can be used in long run in CI engines. So one of the important outcome or rather the essential discussion would be how it can reduce the corrosion property along with the tribological property as well. So we'll discuss wear and corrosion at the end of this particular at the later part of this session as well. So as I said, why we need to mix two biodiesel, right? So one important point is less dependency on single crop based biodiesel fuel. So suppose at a given location you have several seeds or several crop available from where we can from which we can get the biodiesel. So it will reduce the dependency on a single crop, right? So sometimes it could be a seasonal problem as well. In a particular season, particular say crop is available, but it is not available throughout the particular region for the entire year. So depending on availability, right, either it is seasonal variation or local variation, right, we can mix more than two particular biodiesel. Then as far as the physicochemical property of biodiesel is concerned, unlike the diesel, all biodiesels have different physicochemical properties. So some biodiesel may have better say density, some biodiesel may have better lubricity property as well. So some biodiesels are less corrosive, some biodiesels are giving less frictional effect. So if we know all these physicochemical property, we can arrive at which two particular biodiesels are best to mix to get the advantage in terms of the performance, combustion, as well as the emission. And availability of biodiesel crop throughout the year is also one of the need of mixing the two particular biodiesel. So we did some literature review. I'll not in detail discuss what literatures are available, but typically say to arrive at the final conclusion of this particular talk, we have divided these particular sections or this session in 5 different topics. And a lot of literature was reviewed in terms of the engine output with dual biodiesel, where we reviewed the papers on effect of dual biodiesel on fuel property and effect of dual biodiesel on engine output. However, say we could not find much particular literature on this topic. Yes, but some literature is still available. Then second part of the literature is the fuel optimization by multi-choice decision method techniques. So this multi-criteria decision method techniques like Promethi, Topsys, Murray, AHP, ANP, Vickers, etc. are available. But we focused on first two, wherein say we know see as large number of biodiesels are available, we need to mix two. So which two, right? And why those two? So we need to optimize that. And we did this optimization with the help of Promethi and Topsys. However, literature is available on other techniques as well. Then third part of the literature is on engine output with emulsified fuel. So we tried to understand if we mix water to some extent, 1 to 5% in our diesel, whether it could improve the properties in terms of this, final emission or performance or combustion. So we reviewed the literature on stability of emulsified fuel and effect of emulsified fuel on engine output as well. Then last two part were the very important, where we talk about the literature, or rather reviewed the literature on corrosion and wear. So we reviewed the literature on corrosion behavior of biodiesel and their emulsified fuel blend on metal surfaces. So we typically pick up the metals which are available in plenty in existing diesel engine and try to understand how this particular metal behaves with the biodiesel in terms of the corrosion as well as in terms of the wear as well. So in last part, we reviewed the literature on coefficient of friction, friction force, wear rate, material and volume loss, worn out surfaces through microscopic analysis as well. So in broad sense, the total literature was reviewed, and on the basis of that, we actually arrived at some conclusion. And these conclusions from the literature are optimization of fuel can be performed using multi-criterion decision matrix techniques based on the engine output. Second is the multiple mixing of biodiesel can reduce the engine emission. So this is say available in cited literature as well. Mixing of various biodiesel will reduce the dependency. Some crop of biodiesels are highly corrosive. Biodiesels are more corrosive than diesel, and corrosiveness of biodiesel can be reduced by blending them with low corrosive biodiesel. So mixing, if you mix it, the effect can be nullified as well. So biodiesel have potential as a self-lubricating fuel or lubricant, and multiple biodiesel blend fuel has potential to reduce engine wear as well. So with the addition of biodiesel in petroleum lubricant, it can reduce the lubricating properties, and emulsified fuel combust more efficiently and also produce the high brake thermal efficiency. So these are some of the conclusions from the literature review. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If there is any issue, please bring me back. So these are the 4 basic objectives. One is to optimize the blend based on our MCDM techniques. Then to identify the corrosive properties. Third is to check the feasibility of biodiesel as self-lubricating fuel in the CI engine. And last one is to see the emulsification effect. What if we add slight amount of water into engine on combustion performance and emission? So this is my whole process plan. So if we this slide talks about the complete plan of action. So you can see here. Let me use the laser. Okay. So first, as I said, say first part is the selection of biodiesel. Right, so if we want to mix them, right, so we need to identify some biodiesel and then we'll try to mix. So first we have selected some biodiesel samples based on the property. They were analyzed through GCMS and FTIR based on availability and based on tribocorrosional or corrosion property from the literature. Some biodiesels were selected. Then all these biodiesel blend were typically say through engine performance analysis, right? We went for the analysis like CI engine test, on CI engine test rig, performance analysis, combustion analysis, emission as per IS 10,000 part 4. Then as I said, say we add some slight amount of water, and again performance combustion emission analysis was targeted. Then with this blend of biodiesels, corrosion analysis was understood. So for that we selected the metal, then static immersion test was performed, and on the basis of the visual inspection, weight loss analysis, and surface roughness through surface roughness tester and scanning electron microscopy, we identified the corrosion level in different metals as well. And finally, we went on pin-on-disc apparatus experimentation, where we found out the metal, the affinity with the biodiesel in terms of coefficient of friction, wear rate measurement, weight loss analysis, etc. So this way we have moved from selection of biodiesel to finally tribological assessment or analysis. This is all about the selection of biodiesel. So we know, see, as I said, the different seeds are available from where we can generate biodiesel in different quantity in different states of India. So if I talk about Jatropha available in Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Castor in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Neem is available in plenty in UP, Bihar, and West Bengal. Linseed is available Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh. Karanja is available in plenty in UP, Bihar, and Orissa. Same way, rapeseed is available in plenty in Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana. Palm in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, and Karnataka, and canola is available in Rajasthan, UP, and Haryana. So you see, different crops are available in different state of the India, and if we generate biodiesel, see, it's say difficult to transport it from one place to other, looking to the transportation cost. So normally, say we target the region-based or kind of the state-based biodiesel availability, and you can see in say one state more than 2 or 3 seeds are available wherein we can generate the biodiesel. So we took this 8 different species from where we produce the biodiesel, and those biodiesel studies further discussed in this presentation. So this is physical chemical properties. Now you see here, see more or less viscosity is in line with the diesel, but more important point is the calorific value. If you see calorific value, diesel calorific value is about 42 megajoule, and almost all biodiesel calorific value are in line with diesel except one, wherein say in Karanja it is Karanja and rapeseed, this calorific value is slightly lower, and we know that if calorific value is less, your brake specific fuel consumption would increase. So you require more amount of fuel, right, to get the same power. Density almost the same, as means from canola to castor, the variation is much less. But if we see the oxygen stability, different biodiesel have different oxygen stability, which may ultimately may lead to oxides, right, if they come in contact with the metal for the larger time. And uh, this, as far as the free glycerin is concerned, some of the biodiesels have free glycerin, some of the biodiesel are not having glycerin as well. So looking to this particular fact, it gives the physical as well as the chemical property. And as I said, the physico-chemical property of this all set of biodiesels are different. So if we mix two biodiesel, right, then that mixture would be giving you the third property, and which could be better than any of this biodiesel as well. So we try to mix them, right? We prepare the matrix, the mixed matrix, and then evaluated by some statistical tool, and then finally we arrive at which combination is the best. So first part of the talk is the selection of optimized biodiesel blend using the multi-criteria decision method techniques. So here, to arrive at the best blend, right? We started with the initially with all these 8 biodiesel. If you see, whatever were presented in my earlier slide, Jatropha, castor, neem, linseed, karanja, rapeseed, palm, and canola. These 8 biodiesels were selected, and then they were tested for 3 criteria. One is the performance, where we selected brake thermal efficiency and brake specific fuel consumption. For combustion, we took maximum pressure and delay period. And for emission, 3 emissions were targeted, which are most crucial. Those are NOx, HC, and CO. So based on that, we tried to optimize. However, as far as the engine load weightage is concerned, we know, see, engine may run from 0 to 100% load, and most of the lifetime it runs at 50% of load, and accordingly this weightage was selected. And then finally, to arrive at which biodiesel is best, the parameter like performance, combustion, and emission were also given the different weightage. So here, if you see, more weightage is given on emission. So 50% of the selection weightage was given on the emission criteria, 25% on combustion, and 25% on performance. So if you see, we have 3 different indices for emission. Total weightage is 50. So each one is given about 0.167. Here combustion is given 25%. Hello, may I request you please to off your audio. So in combustion, half of weightage is given to these 2 parameters, and so does to this performance analysis as well. From that, the decision matrix was formed, and the experimental results were arrived at. And using the Topsys and Prometheus, these are 2 tools for multi-criterion decision methods. And along with the Spearman-Venn correlation, we identified the best blend. And we could get the 70% diesel, 15% castor, and 15% rapeseed as our best blend out of these 8. That we'll see the complete methodology as well in slides to come. So these are the 8 pure fuel, right? Pure biodiesel which we used, and the 2 main property, density and calorific values mentioned over here. You can see that the density is in line with almost a diesel. Calorific value is slightly lower. Then say we get the selection of possible blend of biodiesel. This is the first phase of optimization. So as may I please request you to off your audio?
I request all of participants to mute your audio. Please mute your audio. Mute your audio. Disturbing the access. Sir, I am disabling all mics. Thereafter, you on your mic. Patel sir.
Okay.
Patel sir. I am disabling all mics. Thereafter, you on your mic. That would be good. Mute all. Mute all. Sir, unmute yourself. Sir, unmute yourself. Patel sir, unmute yourself.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Okay, now slide is visible, no?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
So we are on this slide. This gives the property of density and Kelvin value of all these 8 samples. Then see, if you see here, I'm on next slide. Is it visible? No, slides are changing. No, Khatri sahab, Professor Khatri. Hello.
Hello, sir. हाँ बोलो, sir. Yes, sir.
हाँ, slide change થાય છે ને?
हाँ, sir, થાય છે. Yes, yes.
Okay. So now see, as far as selection of possible blend of biodiesel is concerned, which is our first phase of optimization, you see, diesel is taken as 50% and 25% of two mixer, or rather two biodiesel were selected. So one represent the mixing of these two. Suppose say here I'm mixing 25% Karanja and 25% Jatropha. Here for palm we have taken 25% Jatropha, 50% diesel. In other sample, 25% palm, 25% Karanja, and 50% diesel. So in all, if you count this one, right, these are possible mixture, and which will be total 28, because here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 different sample. At a time, I'm selecting 2. So 8 combination of 2, that is typically 8 7s are 56 by 2. Total, we have 28 combinations. So all these 28 combinations were tested. So here you can see here that all this along with the pure diesel and the pure biodiesel, the property, density, and calorific value for mixture is also mentioned. And almost if you see now, if you mix it, the calorific value has slightly gone up, because in some of the cases, because of the fact that the calorific value of some of the biodiesel is more as compared to others. So if you see here, almost in all cases, your value of CV is in line with the diesel. If diesel has 43, here it is ranging from 39,000 to about say 41,000, and density is also compromised, or rather say it is in line with the diesel. This is our experimental test setup. So it is computerized variable compression ratio engine test rig. So, and dynamometer, here the electrical dynamometer is given. So directly say by varying typically the flow rate and that all sort of results were taken, and they were captured through online data recording system as well. So this is the pictorial view of our existing VCR system, vapor compression. Sorry, this variable compression ratio engine test. For emission, say we measure carbon monoxide, HC, CO2, O2, and NOx. So this 5-gas analyzer was fixed in the tailpipe, and it could give us the accuracy of 5%. And for smoke also, we measure the opacity and the accuracy also is in the range of plus or minus 0.1 meter inverse as well. So these equipments or the kind of experimental setup was used. Now, as far as load factor is concerned, see, as I said, we arrived at the loading condition from 0 to 100%. So here you can see that maximum load factor is given to this 50% of load. That is 0.6 weight factor is for 50% of load. 0.15 load factor was given to 25%, 75% of the engine operation. And we know hardly say engine operated 0 and 100%. So this load factor was mentioned as 0.05 and 0.05 respectively. So it is taken from the United States Environmental Protection Agency standard, where they have mentioned that engine load factor is typically 0.59 for most of the, for the entire life, right? For most of time of the entire life. And in line with that, we have selected 0.6 for 50%. As far as the engine operating condition is concerned, our engine was fixed with engine 1500 RPM. Loading condition, we varied from 0 to 100% in the interval of 25 each. Injection timing was 20 degree before TDC. Temperature condition was about room temperature, 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. Compression ratio was fixed to 18:1. However, we have a flexibility on this, our engine setup, that we can vary this compression ratio from 16 to 19, because it is a variable compression ratio engine test setup. And injection pressure was set at 220 bar. So with this, we use this 28 combination, as I said, from canola Karanja to this rapeseed Jatropha. So these are the total 28 combination, and our target was to select best mix, right, out of this, so that we can take 25% each of these two along with the 50% of diesel. Most of the literature, if you read, right, it will be 80% diesel and 20% of biodiesel. But here we have targeted 50% diesel and 50% biodiesel, wherein say two biodiesel were mixed to a quantity of 25% each. So if you look at the performance analysis of this individual combination, so here on x-axis you can say look at 1 to 28, which is in line with this particular in the previous slide. This notation number were given. So 1 is corresponding to canola karanja and 28 is corresponding to rapeseed jatropha. So if you see maximum, say this is your performance analysis. Wherein say we took two different indices. One is the brake thermal efficiency and second was brake specific fuel consumption. So if you see here, the maximum efficiency was with your biodiesel blend or rather mixture 19, which is typically neem linseed. Again, say you have better result with number 5, which is canola castor. This number 9, which is karanja neem, and lowest was with respect to 25, which is linseed jatropha. So through this, right, we can come to know that yes, some of the biodiesel gives brake thermal efficiency of the order of 25%, and wherein say there are other set of biodiesel where the efficiency is also less by 5%, that is in the range of 20 to 21. Similarly, in brake specific fuel consumption, obviously higher is the brake thermal efficiency, lower will be your brake specific fuel consumption, because ultimately see here the fuel mixture which have got higher calorific value, for that brake specific fuel consumption would be less. Like in case of here, say 19 has least. So here if you see the property, neem linseed mixture has got the highest value of your brakes, this calorific value, so brake specific fuel consumption is lowest. So this is one of the analysis, performance analysis for all 28 biodiesel mixtures. Then we went for the combustion analysis. Here we need, say delay period should be lower, whereas the maximum pressures peak cylinder pressure should be more. Ultimately, more peak cylinder pressure will give you more torque, and your power generation would be more, brake power would be more. At the same time, delay period should be shorter. Longer delay period say ultimately reduces the engine power, because most of the combustion will happen at the lowest stage, or the at the fag end of your combustion process. So here delay period is minimum for mixture number 14. Which is your palm neem. So looking to the delay period, this could be the best, right? And the worst could be the canola karanja, then number 10, which is karanja linseed, and number 21, which is neem rapeseed. Similarly, if we look at the peak cylinder pressure, I would go for the biodiesel blend, which gives me higher peak cylinder pressure. So 19 would be better, neem linseed. 20 is next, that is neem castor. So ideally neem based mixture will give you the more say peak cylinder pressure and hence the more power. So again we fix that the total out of the total weightage of 1, performance analysis, that is brake thermal efficiency and brake specific fuel consumption, is given 25% of weightage, that is 12.5% each. Similarly, 25% weightage was given to combustion analysis. So 12.5% weightage is to delay period, 12.5% weightage to maximum cylinder pressure, and last 3, that is your NOx, hydrocarbon and soot, right? These 3 emission parameters were given 50% of weightage. So 50 by 3 is about 16.8. So each are targeted as at 16.8% of the weightage. So here in terms of the NOx, 24 and 25, that is linseed and rapeseed and linseed and jatropha are better, right? So here in terms of your hydrocarbon, 19 is better, that is neem linseed. Against the 13 is also having good property, karanja and jatropha. So looking to this at present, we cannot come to a conclusion that which one will be better unless we go for the particular say set process like your multi-criterion decision matrix analysis. In Amigen also you see here 26 number, that is the castor rapeseed, has got the lowest. 19 and 20, that is neem linseed and neem castor. They have also better property, right, in terms of the smoke opacity emissions. Now here this weightage for the smoke opacity is 16%. Emission hydrocarbon also 16%, 16% for nitrogen. So this is my overall matrix. If you see whatever say I have described, right, this weightage for total emission is 50%. Your total this hello. Okay, so this weightage is fixed, right? As discussed earlier. However, say here we'll see in terms of the emission, lower is better. We should have low emission, but at the same time, as far as Pmax is concerned, we should have high. Delay period should be low and thermal efficiency should be high, right? So some of the parameters lower are better, some of the parameters higher are better. So ultimately, see this weightage, right? Weightage is given for the different criterion, and whatever were the results, right, which were highlighted in these 7 charts are mentioned over here in numbers. All this combination alternative A1 to A28, what is the emission level in ppm or percentage or Pmax delay period and thermal efficiency. See, interestingly, you can see here that I have not mentioned brake specific fuel consumption, right? Looking to the fact that this thermal efficiency and brake specific fuel consumption is hand to hand, will go. One is, so right, higher is your brake thermal efficiency, lower will be brake specific fuel consumption. So this thermal efficiency is given as 25% of the weightage. So this is the total matrix for all 28 combinations. Now we will apply these two methods, TOPSIS and Promethi, to find out the best solution. So TOPSIS is the technique for order preference by similarity of the ideal solution. And in say, I'll not go in detail how actually we arrived at this, because otherwise it will take say at least 1.5 hours to describe the complete methodology. But I'll just highlight what are the steps involved for the TOPSIS analysis. As you can see that here in the previous slide, we have the matrix of 28 row multiplied by 7 column. So this matrix, right, n is from 1 to 7. These are your decision criterion, where is this 1 to 28 m will be varying from 1 to 28, which are your different mixture. So I have a matrix, right? This matrix is obtained from the experimental result. Then I'm making all this result normalized. Now, in order to make this normalized result, what I'll do, see here, all these 28 elements are squared, right? I'll make the square of that, take the square root, and each one will be divided by the individual element. That is, whatever is the, say, total 28, suppose I have result over here, I'll square it and I'll sum it up, and then I'll take the square root of first column, and all these first column element are divided by with that particular number. So I am normalizing with respect to this. So xij divided by xij square root, that will be my normalized decision matrix. Then say we have weightage, and this weightage is typically, if you see here, 0.167 to 0.25, right? So all these weightage will be multiplied with this element, and then this rather this matrix, right? This you see here, x11 divided by square of all these elements will be your revised x11, and similar number will be multiplied with this 0.167. So ultimately what I am doing is I am multiplying with r, which is the revised number, right, with the weightage factor. So this all these weightage w1 to w1 are multiplied, so you will have the weighted normalized decision matrix. Then see here, you have again say this particular matrix will have the 7 column and 28 rows, right? So out of this 28 number, you can find out one number which will be maximum, one number which will be minimum. So we need to identify this A plus and A minus. So A plus is typically the maximum number in the given column, right, out of these 7 columns. So you have 7 maximum and 7 minimum, which will be say marked as A plus and A minus. And then again say with respect to that, we'll perform this Vij minus Vj, right, and we'll take the square and make the summation of that. So you ultimately see whatever matrix you have, right, you take the A plus, right? A plus is all your 7 results in your particularly this matrix, right? Whatever is the maximum number will be A plus, whatever will be the minimum number will be A minus. So at the bottom of this A28, I have A plus and A minus, and correspondingly I have 7 results. Then what I'll do, every individual number will be subtracted from this A plus or A minus, and then again say we'll take the square root. So you see here, right, Vij minus Vj is again say I am going for the ideal negative and positive separation. So when I subtract all the say all the 28 cross 7 element, right, from Vj plus, square it and take the square root, so you will get the single number, right, with respect to that particular column will be Si plus, and similarly you will be having the Si minus as well. So we'll get this calculated separation from the ideal and negative, so ideal positive and ideal negative solution. So you have one set of matrix as Si plus, one set of matrix as Si minus, and then using this two, Si minus and Si plus, I'll be having a single matrix of Ci. So this Ci will be having this one column matrix having 28 rows. So every individual combination A1 to A28 will be with respect to particular Ci, and with respect to that, see here you can see all this 28, right? Finally I'll get this number, this C star, right, will be a single number for a given alternative, and the whatever is the maximum number will be the best alternative, and whichever is the minimum will be the least one. So here using this Topsys, I can arrive at the conclusion that combination number 26, which is my Kestrel Rhapsid, is the best solution. Second best is Palm Linseed. Third best is my A17, which is Palm and Rhapsid. And likewise, I have number from 1 to 28. So chronologically, you can adjust, right, or rather put all these 28 blend. So using this multi-criterion decision matrix, which is Topsys method, I have arrived at the best possible solution, that my number 26, which is Kestrel Rhapsid, is the best solution, looking to the fact that 50% weightage is given to emission, 25% weightage is given to combustion, and 25% weightage is given to performance. So all this, whatever we have discussed so far, right, various experimentation, various matrices as well. So I could arrive at the ranking, and this ranking is from 1 to 28 by Topsys method. However, looking to the fact that we should ensure that yes, our ranking, whatever we decide from Topsys, should not be biased, so that we took the other method as well. So next method is the Promethi, which is preference ranking organization method of enrichment of the evaluation, which is again a matrix based method. So I'll not discuss what steps are involved, but typically you can look at, say we are going for the matrix formulation, and finally we are arrived at this different multi-criteria reference index matrix for all 28 combinations. Then step 3, say we'll again say perform multi-criterion performance index, then outranking and outranked index, and finally we will arrive at the single number here, like say in that C star was your ranking decision performance, you can say parameter. Here this phi-m, right, phi-m, which is the outranking and outrank matrix, right, on the basis of that we arrive at a single digit number phi-m for the given option. And if we put this phi, right, for all these combinations, whichever is having the highest phi, right, highest performance, would be the best matrix. So again, say ironically, we got the same, that is blend number 26, which is again say Kestrel Rhapsid as the first rank. However, it is not true that is for other as well, that is second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. There is slight change. Whatever was second in the earlier case is not the second over here. You can see now second best is Neem Linseed, rather in the earlier case it was Palm Kestrel. So here using this Promethean Topsys, right, we got the ranking of this 28 blends. So knowing the fact that both are not giving the same, right, we went for the third performance third criteria, which is called the Spearman's rank coefficient, which ultimately tells us, right, how to arrive at the best solution if you have optimized your result with two different decision matrix methodologies. So here you see the rank of the Topsys from A1 to A28. This is the rank indicated by the Promethi method, and this is the absolute deviation. We'll take the mode value because negative value does not signify anything, right? So here I can say that for A1, which is canola karanja, right, my rank is differed by 2, and it is not like that say one method gives the best rank, other gives the worst. However, it will be very close to each other, and here say there is a rank difference of 3, 7, 2, 4, 4, 4, etc. if you see, more or less say this, except bearing a 2 or 3, this ranking ideally say are very close to each other. So in order to arrive at, again say, because we are getting the different ranking, which blend is the best, we went for the Spearman's rank correlation. So if you have two different values from two different criteria, Spearman rank correlation method gives you the optimum solution. So it is indicated by rho, and the value will be in between -1 to 1. If rho value is -1, it gives you poor correlation. If it is +1, it gives the good correlation. So if your correlation is more than 0.8, 0.85, we accept that particular correlation. Otherwise, we reject. So same was implemented, right? So it's a simple formula: 1 minus 6 sigma di square n into n square minus 1. I have n equal to 28, and di is the difference which I have taken over here. This last column is the difference. You sum it up, right? Put in the formula and get the value of rho. So here in first phase of experimentation, this our rho was 0.85, and then it was represented over here. See here, it's a very nice representation of both the Promethean Topsis method rank. Here you see ranks are mentioned 1 to 25, and different combinations are mentioned on the periphery. So if I see this Kester deficit, right, blue color indicate Topsis and green color indicate Prometheus. So for Kester deficit, both gives you the rank number, rank 1. As far as the second is concerned, here Repsid, Kester, Jatropha, right? For that, the rank is 5, right? For Promethean, same is by the Topsis as well. If I go to this Karanja Nim, right? Karanja Nim here, the rank is typically in between 7 and 8, 7 and 9. So 8 by your Prometheus, but the same rank is about 15 by Topsis. So here this indicate again say what is the rank of the given blend by these two different methods. And again say on the basis of that, I can conclude that yes, this is the best because both Prometheus and Topsis gives the same result. Kester Repsid was selected as the best fuel. If I want to find out which is the worst, right, 28. So typically this Nim Jatropha, Nim Repsid, Nim Kester, right, that goes say in the inner circle. So the if you see the ranking is beyond 19, so they are not considered to be the better fuel. So rank 1 fuel is Kester Repsid. And now with respect to that, say further experimentation were carried out. So if you see here, as I said, now in order to perform the further experiment, it was decided that this particular mixture of Kester and Repsid will be varied, right? Because again, say we need to find out what is the correct mixture, whether we should take 50-50% of these two, or 20-80% or 40-60% kind of. So 5 different scenarios were selected. For instance, we take diesel blend as 70% fixed, but as far as this biodiesel blend is concerned, was taken as 30. So looking to the fact that this mixture would give us the better flexibility, so rather than establish 80-20 blend, here we went for the 70-30. So this 30% could be 25% Kester and 5% Repsid, 20% Kester and 10% Repsid, so and so forth till Kester 5% and Repsid 25. So we varied from 25 to 5% over here and increased from 5 to 25. So 5 different blends were prepared, and if you see here, the property is almost same. Now the experiments were performed, and in order to find out the experiment, right, the as say indicated by this is the same, that is 70% diesel, 5% Kester, right, 25% Repsid. This is B1, where in B2 it is 70% diesel, 10% Kester, 25% Repsid. So these mixtures were identified as alternative B1 to B5. And again, say same Promethean Topsis were implemented to identify which blend is best among these. So ideally, if you see here, I have 5 blends, when 70% diesel is fixed, but the mixture of Kester and Repsid total is 30%. When you say they are varied from 5 to 25 and 25 to 5, right, in this particular proportion. So my now next target is to identify best out of that, which is I'll call it this second phase of experiment. First phase of the experiment was to identify which two mixture, Kester and Repsid, which was the outcome of my first Prometheus Topsis, which was the first phase of optimization. Now here in second phase, I'll try to optimize what will be the proportion of these two, whether it is 15-15 or 5-25 or 10-20 kind of. So again, say same criteria were selected: performance, combustion, and emission. So here performance analysis straight away says that B5 is the best, right? Your brake specific fuel consumption is the least, wherein the brake thermal efficiency is more. And B5 is your 25% Kester and 5% Rapeseed. This is best in terms of performance. In terms of combustion, my delay has to be minimum and peak cylinder pressure has to be maximum. So minimum delay is with respect to B1. So looking to this fact, the delay period, right, or combustion analysis, 70% diesel, 5% Kester, and 25% Rapeseed is the best. If I go for the emission, see here. Now in emission, typically 3 criteria are selected. One is the NOx, second is the hydrocarbon, and third is the opacity. In terms of the nitrogen oxide NOx, 15-15 blend is better. In terms of hydrocarbon also, same blend is better because it gives the least value, because in emission lower is better. And emission also, if you see that smoke opacity, this third criteria is better. So again, now we'll fix it, same criteria, that 50% weightage is given to the emission, 25% weightage is given to combustion, and 25% weightage is given to performance. Based on that, matrices were formed, and both the methods were implemented, Promethean, Topsys, and rank were identified as per the previous methodology. So here, if you see the out of these 5, right, the B1 is 4th ranked as per Topsys, whereas Promethean rank it 5. Difference is 1. If I take the DI score, because for Spearman rank coefficient, we need to use this particular column 11000. So ideally, if you see here, the for these 3, right, the difference is 0. That means both the method have given the same optimized blend. Only first 2, the rank is differed by only 1. So more or less Topsys and Promethean for my second phase of optimization, the results are more or less same, and they are represented over here. So as far as the base blend is concerned, the 70% diesel, 15% Kester, and 15% Rapeseed. Wherein the worst one is 70% diesel, 10% Kester, and 20% Rapeseed. So this second phase of analysis gives me, or the optimization gives me the required mixing as well in my diesel biodiesel blend. So it is 70-30 blend, 70% diesel, 30% biodiesel, but in that 30% biodiesel, 15% Kester and 15% Rapeseed, that in equal proportion they are added. And your Spearman rank correlation, if you see, it is 0.94, as it is towards 1, right? So more or less this Promethean and Topsys both are equally strong in order to optimize my second phase of experimentation. We went for the uncertainty as well, and if you see, the uncertainty is very good in almost all measurement, which is very less. Either it is less than plus or minus 0.1. In percentage also it is very less, right? So the equipment were calibrated, and typically uncertainty in measurement was within limit. So as far as the closure of this part is concerned, what we did is the selection of the optimum blend of biodiesel and diesel based on multi-choice decision matrix criterion, which give us 70% diesel, 15% Kester, and 15% Rapeseed, right, as the optimized blend, because ultimately say it gives lower NOx, lower shoot particle, and lower SC as well. Now we need to understand, right, what if we go for the further modification, and next modification, the emulsification. So as far as emulsification is concerned, it is the adding water into the biodiesel diesel blend. So henceforth, as far when I talk about biodiesel, please understand that it is a blend of 70-30, where Kester and Rapeseed is mixed equally. So 70D, 15Ca, 15R will be now taken as my biodiesel diesel blend for the further study. So next study is the watering oil emulsification. So I add water in the oil, and we will see what if we add water into the oil or water injection in the diesel engine, how could it be useful, what are the ill effects or negative effect, and whether we should go for that or not. So as far as the injection of water, rather the water emulsification is concerned, there are 3 ways. Either you can prepare the water oil emulsion outside the engine, and then you inject water and oil, right, as a through your diesel injection system. Second is the fumigation of water into the intake of the air. So along with the air, water injected and air is mixed with the water particles, H2O vapor, and then it is injected in the diesel engine. And third is the direct injection into the combustion chamber with the help of injector. So in which case, in this case, you have two injectors. One injector is for the water, other injector is for the fuel. Now, water can be added to the engine. Now, beautiful thing is without any modification. We don't require to modify the engine. If you add water to up to say 5% in your diesel fuel, the addition of the water into the fuel is one of the method of reducing NOx and particulate matter without affecting the performance of the engine. So engine performance will be slightly degraded. However, the NOx and PM would be reduced to a larger extent. So the mixture of this water and oil, that is emulsified formulation, are reported to reduce the emission of nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, particulate matter, and that too without compromising the engine performance much, and without increasing much your brake specific fuel consumption also. So this is overall the representation of the experimentation of this second phase. Whereas I took Kester and Rapeseed optimized blend in 15 each, 70% diesel was taken, and then I have added some water in the volume percentage 1 to 5 and 10%. Here I am writing 1-5 because we have taken 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% in this step of 1, and then directly we went for 10%. We have not taken 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. So total 6 water samples were selected, 1 to 5% and 10, and then it was mixed with this particular mixture. Then we know see water and oil density is different, so they will not mix in a required proportion, or rather you will be having the demarcation of water in oil, right? Because water being heavier than the oil will float on water. So to have the homogeneous mixture, we need surfactant, and the function of the surfactant is to have the homogeneous mixture of water in oil. So we selected 2 commercial surfactant, Twin 80 and Span 80, because of their different properties, and then they were mixed in some proportion with these 3, and then it was stirred for about say typically at 1500 RPM for 48 hours, so that the mixture is appropriate, and then it was left for 48 hours, and we could find out whether say mixture is appropriate or not, and then we went for the stability test, then performance test, combustion and emission. On the basis of that, we need to fix here 2 things: what could be the best water proportion and what could be the best surfactant as well. So we need to change surfactant proportion, and we need to change water proportion as well. So as far as the surfactant is concerned, we have typically here, if you see now, this is the test matrix. So as I said, we varied the water from 1 to 10, right? But till 5, the volume by volume percentage was, or rather at this step of 1%, we varied till 5, and then directly we took 10 as the next sample. As far as surfactants are concerned, were varied from 1 to 3%. The speed of blending was fixed at 1500 RPM, and we have 2 types of surfactant: the Span 80, which is lipophitic, and Twin 80, which is hydrophilic. So this hydrophilic lipophitic ratio was maintained as 4.3, 5, and 6. And this is the formula. So here you can see MH and ML are the mass of this Twin 80 and Span 80. And using this formula, we could fix this particular HLB ratio 4.3, 5, and 6. So here you can see that typically we have varied this particular HLB ratio, and for the engine performance, we fix the engine pressure as 220 bar, compression ratio is 18, and 20 degree as your means ignition is at 20 degree before TTC. Whatever was the, say, which were the parameters in the earlier case, we didn't vary so that we can get the uniform result. So engine was operated at the same condition. Mixing was done for 4 hours, right, at 1500 RPM, and to see the stability analysis, right, the mixture was actually typically say was rest for about 48 hours. So here say after defining this test matrix, the stability analysis, performance analysis, combustion analysis, and emission analysis were carried out to find out which is the best particular mixture out of this. So this is the total test matrix. As I say, see here if you see, suppose if I fix my total quantity, fuel quantity as 200 ml, and as I said, say we varied water from as 5% and 10%. However, water say again say further was say taken as 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, and 5%. This first, let us try to identify whether 5% mixing or 10% mixing is better. So this is my first set of experiment wherein say I have varied my water in 5 and 10%. So here you can say water is 10 ml out of 200 ml for 5%, and this is 20, right, in 200. So ideally it is 10%. In order to get this surfactant 1, 2, and 3%, right, we vary the hydrophilic lithophilic balance 4.3, 5, and 6 as per this particular formula. So I need to fix my mass of twin 80 and span 80 accordingly in order to get this particular ratio. So let us take an example of 6 HLB. So to get the HLB as 6, I need to have 1.6 ml of lithophytic surfactant and 0.36 ml of hydrophilic surfactant. So total is about 2. This is 10. So rest will be my blend. So blend is varied accordingly. Say total volume of water and your surfactant 200 minus this will be your blend. So accordingly all blend were prepared and the experiments were carried out. So this is the property of surfactant. As I said, these are the commercial name, span 80 and twin 80. However, they are basically the mixture of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen in different proportion. Molar mass, appearance, density, and boiling points are mentioned over here. So these are the two widely used surfactant in the industry, right, for the stability of this mixture. Now see here, these samples were taken into beaker. Here you can see this is the hydrophilic lithophytic balance ratio is 4.3. Water percentage is 5. Surfactant is 1%. So 1% is fixed, right, based on this balance 4.3. So 5 plus 1 is 6 and rest 94 is your blend. Similarly, here if you see 5 plus 2 is 7, 93 is the blend. So all these results are for 5% of water up to here, and these are the results for 10% of water. So clearly you can see this here, this dark and white color indicate the separation of your oil and water. So less is the separation, better is the mixture. So here for any HLB ratio, right, in 10%, you can see that this is remarkable. So straight away this stability analysis gives the conclusion that 10% water is not useful, right? So that option was wiped out. Only now I am left with the 5% with different HLB ratio and different surfactant ratio. So here, if you see the least separation was observed with HLB 6, B93, water percentage is 5. So this blend was selected for the further study. So this is my first optimization, right, as far as 5% or 10% is concerned. However, in 5%, you have option to vary this water percentage from 1 to 5 in this step of 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. So next set of experiment is with respect to that. So here you can see again that the least separation is with this. So E is with my 5% of water. So best optimum from point of view of stability, right? 5% water, right, with 2% surfactant and 93% of biodiesel diesel blend was the optimum as far as the separation or the stability criteria is concerned. However, we need to go for performance combustion, etc. And for that, we need to have the properties of all this mixture. Here you can see all these 5 mixture, right? 1% water, 2% water, 3%, 4%, and 5%. Wherein these 2 and 6 were common, right? 2% of your surfactants and the HLB ratio is 6, right? Was kept as same. The this second indicative 70% diesel C15, that is Castor 15 and Rapeseed 15, and first one is the diesel. So all values, viscosity, density, calorific value, flash and fire point, C10 number, etc. are mentioned. Here, let me clarify that here. See, with respect to the neat biodiesel, right? If you find out the C10 comparison, this C10 is very good in line with the C10 value of your diesel. So that delay period hardly matters, right, as far as this is concerned. So it is good in terms of that. As far as calorific value is concerned, right, almost all these 5 blends are having the calorific value, right, more or less same. However, with the increase in water percentage, obviously your calorific value go down because water doesn't contribute into the calorific value. And viscosity is also in line, that is 16.99 to 16.90. Slight variation in viscosity you can observe, but it is negligible, and so does your density as well. So these are the different fuel blends which were tested. 7 samples were tested, and this is the composition. As I said, as I increase the water percentage, obviously your particularly this blend value, right, will be 100 minus addition of these two. So typically 1% water, 2% surfactant, so 300 minus 3 is 97. So 90% blend will be taken. Here it is 5 plus 2, 7, so 93% blend will be taken. So these are my composition, right, for different blends. Then same load factor was taken, looking to the fact that most of the time engine runs at 50% of load. Conditions were maintained same. And more importantly, say here, I would point out that, see, when we add water into the oil, what actually happens? Why we should add water, right, to a smaller quantity? So in the emulsified fuel engine, the water has a lower boiling point compared to the diesel. Water boils at 100, but diesel doesn't. So during the combustion, compressed heated air in the combustion chamber transfer heat to the water droplet along with the this atomized primary fuel, right? So here you see there will be a fuel droplet, right? So water droplets are over here and they are captured over here as the fuel. Both are having a different boiling point. Boiling point of water is less, so it will pick up heat faster and there will be a blast, right? So rapid evaporation of the water will break down this whole particle into a smaller particle. So your larger fuel particle has fragmented into smaller fuel particle. And from surface area point of view, if you take the surface area of larger droplet is fairly less as compared to the total surface area of this. So your heat transfer rate would be faster. So in order to increase this thing, right? So this would be better in that term. So this rapid evaporation explosion rather gives you more thrust, and sometimes we will observe that your brake specific fuel consumption increases because of water percentage, but at the same time brake thermal efficiency also increase because of the thrust provided because of this blast. So this is ultimately whole process is divided into this 4 step. Primary atomization, right? This fuel droplet, water droplet over the fuel. Then secondary atomization, where say we typically this is droplets are formed, and that gives the higher heat rate, and ultimately it reduces the emission, right? Because of this particular high heat release, your combustion would be perfect and the kind of emission would be less. So this is the performance analysis with all 7, right, from diesel to this particular blend. If you see brake thermal efficiency, as I said, because of the thrust, right, provided by the water burst, this brake thermal efficiency may increase, but at the same time brake specific fuel consumption also goes up because of water particle present in the fuel, because water does not contribute to calorific value. So as you add more water, calorific value will go down, so specific fuel consumption to arrive at the same power will also increases. So this is the larger picture. Important thing is, if you see peak pressure, right, at which happens 20 degree after TDC, almost in between 370 to 380 for all the mixtures. However, the diesel will give you maximum peak cylinder pressure, and peak cylinder pressure reduces as you go on increasing the water percentage. If I talk in terms of the cylinder pressure and delay period, so in terms of cylinder pressure, this diesel is better, and this 5% of your water mixture is the worst because peak cylinder pressure is less. But at the same time, if I talk in terms of the delay period is shorter with my 5% water, 2% surfactant. So it gives me better, rather the opportunity to select this particular fuel in terms of the delay period. In emissions, as we have discussed, right, in this because of the secondary combustion, as water particles are fragmented and the heat release rate increases. So obviously here you will have the better control over the nitrogen oxide, hydrocarbons, right? It is in a similar trend that as you increase water, your nitrogen oxide decreases. Here also you'll find that in more or less cases your hydrocarbon has also gone down, and only smoke opacity because of water particles, right, may contribute to some smoke, right? So smoke opacity has gone up. So putting all these values, right, giving all this weightage, and then if we summarize, right, the thing, the 7 would be the better. So again, say this optimization is done with respect to the load factor. So these 3 are contributing 50%. This is 25%, and these two are 25%. So again, this promethyltopsis you may apply, and you will get the best result with 5% water, 2% surfactant, and HLB ratio is 6. So here our final blend is 93% diesel biodiesel mixture with 5% water and 2% surfactant. In that 93% of diesel biodiesel blend, 15 this Repsid and Castor are taken as 50-50%. So closure of this part is the selection of an optimum percent of water for making an emulsified fuel blend is discussed. The experiment was carried out in two stages. In first stage, stability was observed, and in second stage, the performance combustion emission was carried out. So the final result is 5% addition of water in as per the BS4 standard for the reduction of emission like NOx and SC. Right. In next part, we will discuss typically the corrosion effect of this particular blend. That is 5% water, 2% surfactant, again with the rest of the biodiesel diesel. So in that, first we'll discuss about the static immersion test. So this is the corrosion analysis. So having optimized our biodiesel diesel water blend, right, we need to understand that how corrosive are our engine part with respect to all this test fuel. Whether say this corrosion is more or less in the optimized blend in comparison to the neat biodiesel, which we have taken these 8 particular cases. So over and above this 8, we'll go for 2 more. That is our optimized blend in terms of the diesel and biodiesel, and optimized blend in terms of the water and surfactant and biodiesel. So rather than 8, now we will have total 10 plus 1 diesel, 11 cases, 11 base cases. So here the first step is the selection of biodiesel. Then these 5 metal coins, or rather the metal parts, were selected, and the study was carried out. How is the corrosion of this particular metal coins with respect to the this particular samples? Then, in order to evaluate whether it is particularly which metal coin is more prone to corrosion or less prone to corrosion, the experimental methodology was set in such a way that first we went for the GCMS of this biodiesel, which gave us the indication that whether the biodiesel is corrosive in nature or not. Then the physical visualization of these coins of this metal dipped in this biodiesel. We also evaluate the weight loss after some time. So that also gives us an idea about the corrosion rate. It was also observed that the surface roughness of this coin when they exposed to this biodiesel, and microscopic analysis were also was also arrived at. So typically, see, we concluded, or rather say we went for these 5 different parameters as far as the evaluation of this metals corrosion on this biodiesel is there. This property we have already discussed, and now let us start with this GC analysis. So basically, as far as the GCMS is concerned, right, it is the chemical characterization of all this oil. So we here I have represented, or I have presented this GCMS of diesel, Jatropha, Karanja, Repsid, and Castor. However, we analyze all 10 samples through GCMS. So this gas chromatograph mass spectroscopy essentially gives you what is the importance of this GC analysis. When we use term diesel, right? Diesel is more or less it is hydrocarbon. So only 2 elements are present, hydrogen and carbon. So it's basically a long chain of your alkane series, and mostly the alkane of the higher molecular weight, C18 onwards, they are the part of or constituent of your diesel. In biodiesel, as we derived it from either plant origin or animal origin, over and above this alkane, they also composed of acid, ketone, aldehyde, alcohol, etc. So it's a mixture of large number of chemicals, and because of the presence of this acid, alcohol, and these esters and amine, etc., they are prone to corrosion as well. So we need to understand which kind of say functional group, or rather what kind of constituents are present in this all this biodiesel, right? Obviously, they are always a higher ordered higher molecular weight component. So here, if you see, this particular figure represents the chromatograph of the diesel and biodiesel. So all these 5 biodiesel samples are taken. And if I talk about the diesel, so as I said, it is mainly consisting of alkane series, right from hexadecane to octadecane, that is from C16, C17, C18 to C30 as well. As far as this biodiesels are concerned, so biodiesel made of jatropha, mainly consisting of, if you see here, the molecular weight 18:1, 18:2, right? So all these are typically they are marked here. So 18:0 is your stearic acid, 18:1, right? It is kind of your oleic acid. 18:2 is your linoleic acid. However, it is not presented over here, but they also consist, some of your biodiesel also consist of higher molecular weight acid component like gondoic acid, nonadecline acid, etc. And this acid typically tend to corrode the metal particles. So here, see, complete analysis is given. So totally these components are present in the test fuel. So here, if you see test fuel, all 8 test fuels are mentioned. So higher molecular weight acids, right, like this, heniocosanic or gondoic acid, etc., are present in canola and palm, which are absent in rapeseed. So basically, if you see rapeseed, linseed, right, jatropha, even castor to some extent, they in which your higher molecular weight acids are not present. So they tend to corrode the metal component less. Clear? So this analysis is important in that perspective. Next point was which engine parts are to be selected. So we analyze the different components and which typically metal is used to fabricate that particular component. Like injector made up of stainless steel, your piston is aluminum alloy, right? Then injector pump mainly aluminum or copper based alloy. You have this low pressure line which is made of synthetic rubber. Then some of the parts are made from rubber hose, steel, right? So looking to this fact, these are the engine element, right? In the different exhaust valve, inlet valve, connecting rod bearings, cylinder liner, pistoning and piston, these are the main parts and these are the main elements. So major, you see ferrous is present in almost all, copper based alloy is also almost all. So these 5 metals were selected based on they are used in the fabrication of the various engine component, and they are the aluminum, brass, bronze, copper and iron. And this is the composition weightage, right? We try to maintain this particular composition weightage, and in order to find out whether these metal components or the metals, when they exposed to different biodiesel, they are corrosive in nature or not, we need to say expose these metal parts, right, to the given biodiesel for a fairly long time. So we selected 500 ml of oil. That 500 ml of all these 8 samples were selected and they were taken in a beaker, and then we prepare a coin. You see here, this is a coin of same dimension. So 18.5 millimeter diameter coin was selected. Now these are obtained from some of the ASTM standard, right? What could be the test methodology for this corrosion? So 18.5 mm is the diameter, which is giving you about 5.957 centimeter square area. And these samples, or rather this coin prepared, were dipped in this sample, or rather they hang in with respect to with the help of this Teflon string, right? And they were exposed for 150 days. So these were a very long experiment. So we keep all these 5 samples, or rather 5 metal, in 8 samples, including 9th has diesel, 10th has optimized blend, and 11th has water and optimized blend. All 11 beakers were prepared and they were kept in a dark so that it can simulate your fuel tank scenario. Fuel tank basically typically are at 20-25 degrees centigrade, and when you fill your oil in fuel tank, it is very dark. So all these samples were placed in a dark room for about 150 days, and then they were analyzed for or other physical visualization and under metallurgical microscope as well. So you see here, initially they look like this, and after 150 days, right, the bronze coin appearance in different diesel blend, rather in different biodiesels, was like this. This is 100% biodiesel, jatropha based, castor base, neem base, linseed, karanja, rapeseed, palm, cannol, diesel, etc. So this is bronze, iron, brass, aluminium, copper, and rubber. So if you see here, say rubber, we know say very high affinity of corrosion, right? Rather it dissolve in some of the oil sample. So we could see that say hardly this rubber coin were de-shaped, right, in castor, neem, and linseed after 150 days, but they are completely dissolved in jatropha, karanja, rapeseed, palm, etc. So rubber is highly explosive and rather say more vulnerable to any of this particular uh, biodiesel. Similarly, if you see here for the bronze, right? So castor, you find this corrosive effect is more in comparison to diesel or in comparison to rapeseed. Here also, if I pick up iron, castor, or palm, right, or even say per se neem, here we can see more corrosion, right, with respect to rapeseed. So physical visualization typically says that rapeseed is better in terms of the corrosion. Corrosion was found less. However, in case of neem, in case of jatropha, or saying to some extent in case of linseed also, right? This was more. That also say signifies right through our this microscopic image as well. So here, if you see microscopic image, right? So this image is better as compared to this. So I can conclude that as through visual inspection, rapeseed corrode my bronze to a lesser extent as compared to neem. Here it is mentioned that see this corrosion is mainly because of this cupric oxide formation. Basically, when metal is exposed to biodiesel, biodiesel inherently contains oxygen, right? So they are prone to form oxide. So oxide layers were formed, right? So initially they were clean, but after 150 days you can find that say this when it is your this cupric oxide is formed, green color layer will be visible. In case of say iron oxide, slightly blackish layer is visible. In aluminum oxide also see black color layer was visible. So ultimately here you can see that the corrosion happens right when they are in contact with this particular biodiesel for a fairly long time. In order to find out the weight loss, we need to clean them. So there is a cleaning method as well. Before that, here also say this is with uh, all 8 sample of biodiesel, but similar analysis was also done with respect to our optimized blend and optimized water emulsified blend as well. So here again, say if you compare here with respect to water, right? This water, this blend, right? Here it is better in comparison to water, owing to the fact that water also tend to corrode the metal component as well. So here you will find kind of saying rubber also, in case of bronze also, the corrosion was observed more. And after cleaning also, you can see it over here. So this is deposition of the carbide and oxide on the metal coupons. In order to find out the weight loss, the cleaning methodology was adapted. So here it is as per ASTM G I90. So clear-cut methodology is mentioned. We followed that. I'm not going into detail of this particular methodology. However, after that, we tested this. We calculated the corrosion rate as per the ASTM G3172 with this particular equation. Weight loss into some K factor divided by alloy density, exposure area into exposure time. So exposure time was fixed 150 days, which was taken into hours. So 150 into 24 is the total hours. Exposure area is same for all. Only this weight loss will be evaluated say before we dip this particular coin into the oil sample, weight was taken, and after 150 days after cleaning also we took the oil, took the weight. So that gave us the weight loss or kind of the corrosion, right? So weight loss is typically a corrosion. Because of corrosion, how much weight is reduced. K factor is taken right from the reference. So this is in the ASTM G3172. It is given that this use of this particular K factor, and from that we got the corrosion rate. So this is the picture of corrosion rate. Now see here, as far as bronze is concerned, maximum corrosion is obtained in the oil sample 5. That is, bronze is more susceptible to karanja. Iron is also more susceptible to the same karanja. If you see the aluminum or copper, right? So the wear rate was maximum with the biodiesel of karanja. If we see the second number, right? Almost it is minimum in all. So that is castor. So castor oil could give you less corrosion. Maximum is with the castor, and second highest here I could see number 1, that is Jatropha. Here in this case number 7, which is palm. Here in this case number 8, which is canola, right? So from this particular slide, we can conclude that castor will give you minimum corrosion rate, and this rapeseed number 6, if you see, right here rapeseed is minimum. Here also rapeseed, it is lower but not lowest, right? It is second lower. Here also, if you target, if you see the rapeseed, right, it is lower than many of this particular biodiesel. So if we mix, our optimized blend is castor rapeseed. So this also corroborate our hypothesis that if you go for castor and rapeseed combination, not only performance but also wear in terms of the corrosion also it will be better. So corrosion rate is much lower in this combination. If I go for this combination number 10, see here, if you go for castor and rapeseed number 10, right, it is low. Here also it is low with respect to many of. Here also it is less. Here also it is less, and here also it is less. However, 9 diesel is less, but next lowest is the 15% castor, 15% rapeseed. When we add water, obviously this corrosion rate will go slightly up because of the presence of water, because water also inherently has the oxygen content, and which tend to oxidize your all these metal particle. So corrosion will increase. So here 9, 10, 11 are diesel, your optimized biodiesel blend, optimized blend with the water emulsification. So these are much better as compared to other. You can see it over here. Here also same is the conclusion. Here also is this conclusion. So more or less, except this copper, right? Copper also compared to other, it is less. Whatever. So we can conclude that from this, the optimized blend and the water emulsification is better, right, in order to not only to reduce the corrosion, to improve the performance, but also to reduce the corrosion as well. We then say further analyze this corrosion rate through the SEM analysis, scanning electron microscope. So here see the main part of the diesel engine fuel system having exposed to diesel or biodiesel are the injection pump, injection nozzle, fuel filter, fuel transfer pump, fuel tank, etc. So typically all these components are made up of these 5 metals that we have discussed. So these 5 metals were selected for the kind of SEM analysis when they are exposed to diesel, Jatropha, Karanja, and rapeseed. So if you see particularly this particular figure, in case of the Jatropha biodiesel here, in case of the Jatropha biodiesel, the fatty acid composition is almost similar to rapeseed biodiesel that we have while looking at that particular table, what is the concentration of this fatty acid in Jatropha and Karanja, it was almost same. So more or less it gives you the similar effect. Now as far as the corrosion is concerned, that we can visualize 3 kind of corrosion. Here I, wherever I is written, I symbolize to intergranular type of corrosion, P symbolize to pitting corrosion, and D symbolize to de-alloying corrosion. So most general type of corrosion in all the sample, if you see, P is common everywhere, which is the pitting corrosion. So it was observed that almost in all metal coin with all biodiesel, the pitting corrosion was observed, and this pitting corrosion, which is denoted by P here, you can see this almost everywhere, right? The pitting corrosion was observed. So the most important thing about the pitting corrosion is that it could be say observed as the localized form of the corrosion, and ideally see what happens if because of this pitting corrosion the holes are formed in the metal over the long time, after a long time. So it was observed in, say, as in the figure, that the corrosion product, these products usually cover the pits. Here you can see this, right? This is your pitting corrosion. Here also you can find the pits. So pits are formed, and typically these pits are either open mouth or concealed with the partial permeable membrane of the corrosion output products. So ultimately here this pitting corrosion was observed almost in all biodiesel sample. However, it was observed that this kind of corrosion in brass metal in rapeseed biodiesel is significant. You see brass here, right? And this is the Repsid. So this is pitting corrosion is more in this particular case. Diesel, if we see, diesel has also say pitting corrosion, and whether it is iron or bronze, we could find this pitting. So pitting is more common. The next is the intergranular, which generally happens at the corners, right? Corner of the boundary. So these are the intergranular corrosion, which is less important as compared to the pitting corrosion. Same is observed now compared with the diesel, this blend and this 5% of water addition. So conclusion is here you find this the corrosion is more in bronze, right, as compared to diesel. Here also I could see corrosion is more as compared to diesel. So diesel is ideal fuel in terms of the intergranular pitting or de-alloying corrosion. Next best is your this biodiesel diesel blend, and with addition of water it slightly goes up, right? So corrosion through SM image we can conclude that yes, the water injection may attempt to corrode your this particular system, and it is visible with this as well. See here the surface roughness RA and RQ values are mentioned. So if you figure out this NEEM, right, when you say this value is almost 1 micrometer, 5 micrometer, etc. Lean and NEEM and linseed, they are less responsible, right? As far as the roughness is concerned, roughness is good, but same roughness in case of the palm or canola, right, it goes up. So typically same metal, if I talk about the bronze, neem and linseed are better as compared to palm and canola, and Repsid is in between. So if I need to order for this bronze, right, neem is list, then come castor and Repsid, whereas palm, canola, and this castor, palm and canola, they are corroding this bronze in a larger way. So here, if you see this for almost all, this neem and linseed are the better. This Repsid and castor are intermediate, wherein this jatropha, canola, and palm, they corrode to a larger extent. So it could be either visualized physically from the physical appearance of your coins or from the microscopic analysis as well. And this is for this mixtures. So here also you can see this is in the range of 2 micrometer, right? 2 micrometer. Say in case of diesel it is 5, so it has gone down. So here 5, 5, and 10. So intermediate one is better. It is in line with diesel, but slightly more than that in case of your water when you add water. If you have this blend and this water, right, in case of bronze it is better. So here if we go by say magnitude, right, 2 micrometer to 5 micrometer, right, over the surface of 4, it was taken on 4 millimeter length. So 4 millimeter length, 5 micrometer is nothing. So more it happens, corrosion happens, right, but it is not that significant. Only comparatively I can say that yes, diesel is best. Next best is your biodiesel blend, and when we add water, it goes up slightly. So this is your surface analysis. Same results are plotted on graph so that we can visualize in a better way. So here again, say we have taken the all 11 combinations, right? All 11 samples, and you can see that for almost all this 2, 3, right, here also 2, 3, and here also. So as far as the bronze, brass, and copper is concerned, castor and neem is better. Worst in any case 8 number, right? If you take here number 8, that is for bronze. Canola gives you more wear. For iron, this number 5, that is Karanja, and number 7, which is palm. Karanja and palm are next biodiesel, which will corrode the metal iron more. In case of brass, number 9, that is diesel is the maximum. You can see here, right? Whereas this others are less. In case of aluminium, number 3, right, that is your neem is better, and copper, number 8, is better. So looking to this particular fact, right, if we again say you can compare the roughness value, right, in case of copper, the on the scale it is in between 0.6 to 1.5 micrometer, and here it is in the range of 0.2 to 0.8 micrometer, so which is less as compared to this. So copper gets more corrosion as compared to bronze. Iron is also more because here you can see it is up to 1.6, right? Aluminum it is also more, but in case of brass and bronze, this effect is visualized less. So the closure is the result of the corrosive effect of 8 biodiesel optimum blend and emulsified fuel blend, right, on the different metal surface. And the elastomer, the Kester Repsid biodiesel based optimum blend and emulsified fuel blend showed base compromise result. Highest corrosion was found on the metal surface, which was exposed to Karanja biodiesel, while the lowest was found with the Repsid biodiesel. So that's why again say our selection of Repsid Kester in terms of this is also best, right? See, we proved on the basis of performance analysis, combustion analysis, and emission analysis as well. So again, say in terms of the wear also that is found to be optimum. Now, as time does not permit me, I'll skip this tribological or wear test, which is in line with the corrosion. Only I'll highlight the last part of the result here. This one. So steady state wear rate, if we see, right, in case of corrosion, say we conclude that Kester and Repsid is better. Here, if we see aluminum, the wear rate is maximum with neem. In case of brass, maximum with Kester, next with the neem. Here, bronze, wear rate is maximum with neem. Here also, if you see the copper wear rate is comparatively more with respect to other, say neem is more, and here also it is neem is more. So typically the steady state wear rate, right, with neem biodiesel is maximum. If we talk about minimum, we can see that here minimum is either 3, 7, right? Here it is number kind of 4 is less, right? Here 7 is less. Here also 9 is less, 3 is less. So typically Kester number 3 and 9, which is canola in some case or palm in some case, right? Steady state wear rate is less. So Kester here copper is having lower corrosion rate with Kester. Aluminum is also having lower corrosion with Kester. However, brass has more, but iron has less. So here, say this slide conclude that if we again go for the Kester Repsid base, right, it is a compromise blend. It is not based in terms of the wear. It was based in terms of the corrosion, but here, if I talk in terms of the wear, it is moderate. It is neither maximum nor minimum, but it is compromise blend. So here, say the closure of this section is the study presents the result of the lubricating behavior of 8 biodiesel optimum blend and emulsified fluid blend as well on different metal surfaces. These 5 metals were selected. Results show that the Kester and Repsid biodiesel blend, optimum blend, and emulsified fuel blend shows best compromise. Compromise result means it is not the best, right? It is second best or third best. Highest wear was found on metal surface, which were exposed to neem and Kester biodiesel, while the lowest was found on Jatropha and palm biodiesel. So, in conclusion, say whatever we have discussed is listed over here. In first part through MCDM, we went for Topsis and Prometheus analysis, and conclusion was 15% Kester, 15% Repsid, along with 70% diesel was the optimum blend. Then we also evaluated in terms of brake thermal efficiency, emission, lower smoke opacity, and water emulsion. So in water emulsion, the base blend was found to be 5% water with 2% surfactant over here. Then again, this particular blend was observed for GCMS and FTIR. And finally, say through wear, right, we concluded that in terms of corrosion, the our Repsid Kester blend is best, and in terms of wear, it is best compromise blend. So finally, looking to all these 4 criteria, right, that is ultimately see the contribution of this research is rather than going for one particular biodiesel with diesel, you can select 2 or more. However, here say we went for 2, but you can go for the 3 biodiesel mixture as well, and you can come out with the best optimized blend as well. That will reduce the dependency on one particular biodiesel. So we know ultimately biodiesel are obtained through our crop, and crops are seasonal. It may happen that in one particular season, even if you think of Jatropha, right, if it is available in winter, So either you need to store this jet for biodiesel for summer application, and we know that this particularly its viscosity, right, is time dependent. That for all this biodiesel, right, as you store, the viscosity increases with time, and that is not good part. So at that time, summertime, you can, if you identify other biodiesel, right, or if you blend it, you can take the advantage of the good property of 2-biodiesel. It's good. So ultimately here our intention is to propose that if we mix this 2-biodiesel in the diesel, not only performance but also emission and combustion properties improves. And if we make it mandatory to mix a portion of biodiesel in our diesel in for all over India application, our dependency of or rather our lot of money go, right, or rather we spend money uh, in buying this petrol and diesel. So we can save that particular part. You can contribute in GDP by giving employment to farmers. Farmer will also earn through this particular this seed farming and that also. In a way, this is the major contribution of this particular study. We have this 3 publications in international journal and few publications in conference as well. These are the references. Thank you.